Well, everybody, guess who's late to be bringing you a new art video? This guy. But, at the same time, guess who has a brand new video for you? This guy. I'm having the hardest time keeping up with these videos. My job schedule right now is really all over the place, and I'm trying to balance that and, like, my family and a lot of other things that are going on right now. So understandably, chaos consumes me. Which kind of makes the subject for tonight's video appropriate. It's also kind of appropriate being it's October, it's spooky season, and evil is abound. Or, I guess that depends on your beliefs. Anyway, this is also kind of creepy because it's the 6th of my art videos. So, I didn't plan on that, I didn't intend that, so this is kind of a cursed video. Although based on humor, I guess you could say all my videos are cursed. That was terrible. Anyway, yeah. The subject for this Let's Draw of mythology is the devil himself. And I think I did a little too well on this one. I don't know, you guys be the judge and let me know how I did. Let's get rolling. Alright, so here we go. This one was really weird for me. It took longer than normal for some reason. And I was incredibly uncomfortable drawing it. Mostly due to the fact that, I come from a Christian background. I try to be a good Christian, but I'm really not sure if there is such a thing. But I digress. So drawing the bad guy from my own religion was kind of a weird thing for me. But I haven't drawn any Abrahamic figures yet in this series that I'm doing. I've done a Mesopotamian one, done a Celtic one, and I did a bunch of superheroes, so I thought, well, who's an interesting character from Judeo-Christian Islamic myth, stories. And, everybody likes a good bad guy, so why not start with the devil himself? I don't imagine there's too many of you who don't know the origins of this individual. But the devil in Christianity was an angel by the name of Hallel, I believe. A lot of people call him Lucifer, which means a morning star, but that's a Latin term, and it's actually also used for Yeshua, for Jesus. So I don't really use it that moniker all that often when referring to him. He's later referred to as Satan, which also isn't his name. It's a title, because there's a number of fallen angels called Satan. So if you ever feel like there's an inspecific reference or an inconsistency with the personality of the individual throughout the various scriptures, it's probably referring to a different one, especially with the poor way a lot of them have been translated. Not all of them, but a few of them. Anyway, yeah, his traditional name, his original name is Hallel. We can just call him Lucifer because that's the most popular one, even though it's not technically accurate. Anyway, he was a very high-ranking angel of the seraphim breed. And he was actually the top angel. He was the number one. He was the big dog on the front porch, essentially. He was the one who orchestrated, like, the worship of God. He was in God's presence, like, constantly. He would take his orders from no one except, Jehovah himself. And, he had a pretty good gig going for him. But for some reason, at some point, he kind of goes off the rails. And I feel like I've heard from some extra biblical text or a translation of it, like, that explained why he ends up going crazy. But I don't remember what it is. Either, like, he gets too close to the personage of God, or something to do with, like, antimatter or some crazy thing like that. I don't remember. But yeah, he basically loses his mind, or he starts to. He starts to think that because he's in the presence of God, he deserves to be a god. He deserves to be worshipped like Jehovah and Yeshua are, and the Holy Spirit. But, God keeps reminding him, everything you have I've given to you, so I can easily take it away. You're not a god. You should be happy with what I've given you, because no other angel has this privilege. Really, no other angel is strong enough to have this privilege. You should be honored by it. And he'd be like, oh, yeah, sure, yeah. Okay, whatever you say, Dad. But it was never good enough for him. And that's why I personally often refer to the devil as the Hayden Christensen of fallen angels. Because his personality is very similar to Anakin Skywalker in Revenge of the Sith. There I go, making another Star Wars reference. Yeah, basically, you know, he was given all this privilege, all this right, all this power, but it was never good enough. He always had to have more. He always had to be better. And then, you know, out of nowhere, you know, he notices God is making this new world. He's filling it with life. And he's filling it with all these beautiful plants and these continents and just this beautiful atmosphere over a long period of time. You know, he's building this world, and he thinks, oh, wow, finally, you know, God is making a world for me. He's making a dominion where I can reign and I can be a god. And then he, you know, starts to notice, you know, man on the earth. He's like, what the hell are those? And I guess another archangel, Michael, comes to him. And he's like, yeah, so God has made this new world. It's filled with life. It's filled with, you know, all these great creations. It's made very specifically to work in a very, you know, materialistic way. It has to have very specific parameters, and we're supposed to monitor it. And then he's also put his children on this planet, you know, which understandably puts the devil through a loop. He's like, his what? He's like, yeah, he's made these creatures called humans, and they're made in his image, and I guess he recognizes them as his you know, children, because they're made in his image, whereas we are made to serve him. And so we also are to be under humanity, even though we're more powerful than them, and we have more authority. They have authority over us, technically, and we are to serve and protect humanity. And that's basically what throws Hillel through a loop. That's what really pisses him off. And so he basically gets like a third of the angels in heaven, I believe it was, which is a lot. And he rebels. He's like, he goes to God, he starts a war in heaven. He's like, I'm not going to take this anymore. You've made me to be lower than humans, and they're like insects compared to me, so I'm going to put my throne above you. I'm going to be as God, and we'll see how you like it. And then he appropriately gets bitch slapped down, you know, because what is an angel compared to a god? Which he unfortunately thought he was, but he learned very quickly that day that that's not true, and there's a very big distinction between the two. God's like, all right, you want to be a god so bad, you want to be king, I'll let you be king of earth. I will give you dominion over the earth. You can start wars and chaos to your will and please, but for all the chaos and death and destruction that you cause my children, you know, humanity, it's going to be an eternity in the pit of fire for you, basically. And, you know, he and his followers got cast down to earth, and they've basically just been causing shit ever since. Less direct, and there are definitely other fallen angels are much more a threat to us than Satan is. Or Lucifer, excuse me, Hallel, whatever you want to call him. Like I said, he's the Hayden Christensen of fallen angels. He's more of a brat than anything. And in comparison to other fallen angels, they've done a lot worse than he has. Like, a lot of people think, you know, this is the guy who caused Eve to be tempted in the Garden of Eden. That was actually an entity called Nakash. He has a different name, I don't remember what it was, but he's a fallen angel, and he's a shapeshifter. And he's one of the fallen angels that was to destroy man. He was, you know, with Satan on it, but that wasn't, you know, him directly. That was somebody else on his payroll, basically. And there are just far more terrifying entities than him. But if you ever wanted to know who started the whole hell thing, which is actually in... Hell isn't his dominion. Hell in Christianity doesn't technically exist. That's Norse mythology. The Christian or Judaic term for the underworld is Sheol, and that's his dominion. I don't remember when hell started being the term. I think that was due to the Roman Catholic Church trying to Christianize Norse pagans. But if hell isn't called hell, it's called Sheol, and Lucifer's actual name is Hallel, and he's not as scary. I mean, he's a scary and evil dude. This is not someone you want to pardon my language. But compared to other fallen angels, he's a sissy. He's a whiny little crybaby in comparison to them. You know what I'm saying? And if you're Luciferian or Satanist, and this is your guy, sorry, not sorry. He's a wuss. Of course, that's if you believe in this stuff. If you don't, well, I don't really care. This is an entity from my religion. This is the bad guy. This is kind of the bad guy in a lot of religions, depending on your translation, I guess. The Mazda religion, or Mazdism, Zoroastrianism, is very similar to Christianity. I don't remember what the devil's name in that is, but they have their own version of him. It's interesting because there's a lot of religions like Celtic that don't even have a version of the devil. They don't even have a version of hell, because the Celtic religion is very similar to a Vedic religion. They believed in like reincarnation, stuff like that. Anyway, I was really happy with the shading toward the end here. It came out really well, and I'm almost done. I'm going to show you the final product here in just a second, and there he is. Ugh, it came out way too well.